Let me ask you a question. Why are most action scenes so boring? Why are most long car chases so boring? Why are most gunfights so boring? Why are most fight scenes so boring? Why are massively expensive CGI city-smashing spectaculars so boring?
I've seen lots of explanation and fixes for this online. Characters shouldn't use the same move twice. Someone needs to lose the fight. The action should advance the plot. You need to feel the impact of the hits. I don't have anything against these theories. I largely agree with them, but they're secondary problems. It's like trying to treat blindness by giving your guide dog a new haircut.
The problem is much more fundamental, and it can be summed up in 4 words. New thing must happen. Like all storytelling concepts worth talking about, it's very simple to understand and incredibly hard to do well.
And I'd like to illustrate it with the tale of James Bond walking somewhere. James Bond is walking somewhere. Why should we care? The truth is, we don't care about James Bond walking somewhere. We care about what might happen to James Bond while he's walking somewhere.
There's a quote from the great filmmaker and film teacher Alexander McKendrick. What is happening now is not as exciting as what may or may not happen next.
We don't care about James Bond walking somewhere. We care about what might or might not happen to James Bond while he's walking somewhere. He could be shot at by assassins, or knocked out by a dock worker, or kidnapped by a woman whose name is literally
Pussy galore.
I must be dreaming.
Basically, new thing must happen to him.
But here's where simple to understand meets incredibly hard to do well.
You see, we want things to happen to James Bond while he's walking somewhere.
But it can't just be any old thing. It has to be different, unexpected and exciting, but also believable in the world the story is set in. You're working in a range, too similar to what's happening already and it's boring, not really doing anything new at all, but too different and we won't buy it.
For example, James Bond flirts with a lady.
That's probably not different enough to be anything new.
James Bond flirts with an alien dressed as a lady.
Hello.
Now the audience is rolling their eyes. James Bond punches a lady who turns out to be a man who was supposed to be dead. Now we're in the sweet spot. It's new, it's different, it's exciting. The something new might be a new piece of information, a line, a thing one of the characters does, another character entering. It might be a change in the subtext. The list of things it could be is endless. But the list of things that fit in the sweet spot, not so much. But hang on. We started this video talking about action scenes. Boring action scenes are often caused by having too long a period of time where new thing doesn't happen.
Okay, let's compare a great action scene with a boring action scene and see how many new things happen in each. Now, is it fair to compare Saving Private Ryan to a superhero film? Yes. The tone may be different, but they're both essentially doing the same thing. Superman is fighting Zod. We know he'll probably win, so the movie has to find a way to keep the journey to that happening interesting. These soldiers have to get from the boat to the far side of the beach. We know at least some of them will probably do that, so it's the movie's job to keep the journey to that happening interesting. So why is the Man of Steel action scene boring? Because the way I see it, over the 6 or so minutes of this fight, only one thing happens. Let me explain. The fight begins. That's a new thing happening in the story, so that's one. Zod smashes into Superman. Superman smashes him back. Then Zod hits, then Superman hits, then Zod hits, then Superman hits. Oh, I think he's hurt. No, he's fine. He punches him again, then he punches him again, then he punches him again. They smash into a thing, then oh, it's over. 6 minutes later, we're still on that one thing. Nothing sufficiently different or unexpected or exciting has happened during the fight to count as something new. So let's compare this to a really well executed action scene. And let me show you how one thing, men trying to get across a beach, becomes 11 or so new things happening.
The scene opens. Landing craft moving towards a beach. We travel through the men inside. From the reactions, whatever is about to happen isn't going to be good. The landing craft driver tells us they're 30 seconds away. God be with you, he says. The commanding officer tells his men to move fast and clear the murder holes. A wheel spins, the ramp drops. The men are mown down like sitting ducks. We're wondering how the hell can anyone get from there to the other end of the beach. The men leap over the side of the landing craft to escape the gunfire, but they're dragged under the water by the weight of their own gear. The gear that's supposed to help them fight the war is the very thing that causes them to drown. This is genuinely heartbreaking to watch. We're out of the water now. A man is pulled up but he's immediately shot dead. The beach is a scene of carnage, with men being shot and blown to hell. It seems impossible anyone could make it across alive. We find the man we'll learn is Captain Miller, and the scene shifts perspective. We're taken inside Miller's experience. He's dazed. We wonder if he can keep it together, but he's forced to snap out of it. His men want to know what the hell to do. He tells them to move up the beach. Captain Miller wants his men up the beach, but they're scared. They refuse. He tells them that every inch of the beach has been pre-sighted, i.e. the enemy will have no trouble shooting them if they stay where they are. He moves forward, and they follow. Miller stops to help a wounded man, but a guy from the Navy tells him he's about to blow up the cover they're sheltering behind. Miller is forced to drag the wounded man with him, but before Miller can find help, the man is blown apart. Miller and his men reach an embankment they can cover behind. Miller tells a radio operator they have not secured the beach. Not enough men are left alive to break through. The ones who are alive are not in the right place. The radio is destroyed, and the medics can't help the wounded. The situation is bad. Miller tells the men to collect weapons and ammo. He calls for Bangalores, whatever they are. Engineers run to the front. Men scour the beach for weapons. And as an audience, we're wondering what the hell they're about to do to get out of this.
I'll stop there. That was 12-ish minutes, and not one of them boring, because amid the action, 11 or so new things happened. There wasn't one obstacle to getting up the beach, there were many, each one new and interesting, each one building tension and expectation. I don't know who directed this, but the kid's got a future. But whereas here, soldiers getting across the beach becomes a series of mini adventures, of new things happening. Here, Superman fighting Zod is only that. A mashup of punches and bigger explosions, but nothing different enough to be a new thing. Storytelling doesn't stop when action starts. James Bond can't just keep walking somewhere. The soldiers can't just keep getting shot at. Superman can't just keep punching. Once you look at action scenes this way, you can see it all over the place. Compare, for example, the opening of 2 James Bond films. The opening of Quantum of Solace is a beautifully shot car chase that probably cost more than my house to film. But it's boring, because for 3-ish minutes, nothing new happens. I bet you forgot this film even existed. The opening of Casino Royale, on the other hand, is 3 people in 2 small sets. But it keeps new things happening. New information, new questions, new surprises. And it's one of the best Bond openings in the series. After you know this idea, you start to see it in a ton of great action scenes. I think it's a pretty useful concept to have in your storytelling toolkit. And if you're interested in similar storytelling concepts, I've made a few other videos you might like.